Supervillains. Everyone loves them. They've given us doomsday machines, cats, lasers, henchmen, fava beans, ninjas, machines to blot out the sun, bases that blow up moons. You name it, they've done it. But Sansha Kuvakai went too far. His incursion sino-jams entire constellations. How can we hot drop a passing Drake if we can't drop a sino field? This conundrum led to us taking our place in the enterprise that has sprung up around Incursions. It actually works rather well. A cottage industry of dedicated corps and locals work in prickly harmony to run hundreds of the smaller sites and bring the Sansha constellation control to zero. High-sec incursions give pilots a chance to cut their teeth on fleet combat situations within a PvE environment. And budding fleet commanders get a chance to try their hand at marshalling logistics and organising their forces under fire. The Sansha invasion plans may not make a lick of sense, as indeed is the case of much PvE, and yet on a meta level the content has succeeded, since new in-game professions, roles, and even communities were created. In low-sec and 0-0 incursions, things can be more ruthless. But it's interesting that there emerges some measure of altruism between groups for getting things done, even here in the ruthless environment of Eve. Then the Sansha mothership spawns, and groups like us finish the so-called Uruburos site, giving everyone their loyalty point payout. The Uruburos mothership hits hard. Here its fighter bombers put a heavily tanked Navy APOC to low armor. Running Uruburos right after the launch of Incursions was a thrill because no one knew what to expect. And since the Shadow fighter bombers hit any signature radius for full damage, it was a serious test of the EHP of the caboose-fit Guardian. Although we did get a few faction supercarrier blueprints for our troubles, ISK wasn't a huge motivation, as those bureaucrats at Concord only pay out for Uruburos if you use between 30 and 70 people to kill it. No more, no less. Since it can be run with 10 Guardians and 10 Vindicators, our 20-man groups could only get payouts when using what we called the Caravan. The Caravan was a collection of our alts in Tech 1 frigates, who'd bring us to the required numbers and give extra payouts. We dutifully lead this assortment of Bantams, Tristans and Punishers deep into the incursion, and then sit them on the Uruburos acceleration gate whilst we dealt with Mr. Sansha Kuvakai's finest. Dealing with them was made much harder by our near-endless ability to be trolled by Eve Survival's guides. In one site we dutifully followed instructions and killed wave after wave of escalating spawns for 3 hours, until we realized that the true method involved moving objects in a line of jet cans to make a station vulnerable.
Miss needs a bit of ammo as well. Good luck, put 1 rev or so on him.
SS is about to need heavy reps here in a second, I think.
Okay. 1 rev more on Miss.
Is it the shield is 99% or something?
How long?
35. I feel like speaking clock.
Caution, give me a broadcast, I'll rep you with all reps for a moment.
And of course, low on armor and exhausted from hours and hours of repping, the last jet can would be moved just too slow.
Too late.
That would cause the station to rep back up, a little like a line of buckets in the fire of London, where the last man in the chain leaves to refill his pipe, and the water spills out a mere metre short of the flames. Worse still, we took seriously the apparent danger of the true Sansha mobile headquarters having a warp core strength of 20 and warping away. And so we spent our time bumping it with battleships, neuting it, and even cycling Infinite Point between 6 heavy dictors. And all the while we sat in sober discussion about where its thrusters might sprout from, pending its escape.
Point. I got point on the station.
Primary's broadcasting.
Really?
Force now it is.
Point on station. You can't bump it, so you can all try and bump it.
This station is going to move at some point, Pad.
EC on burst
Jumping
and then
out
jumps
at
out.
90. Is it moving?
It's moving.
No, according to overview.
Begin.
I think it's scared because it's pointed by the voters.
Having survived all this madness, one final question remained. What would happen if we were jumped by a hostile fleet whilst running Uruburos? When the day came, it began in most unremarkable fashion. We'd left the Navpox at home and were running the Uruburos site with the Badans and Guardians. The inimitable Dirty Dirty had even run the gauntlet of crossing incursion gates unscouted to join us in what we little realized was a CCC-rigged Abaddon. The caravan was in place, and as you see here, I'd set up to take initial aggro in an overtanked setup. For logistics we had 8 Guardians, by no means a large amount of rep for running Uruburos, but familiarity had led to confidence in running the site. After some minutes a hostile fleet was reported. We were not as concerned as we might have been, because we placed our trust in an entirely unproven article of faith, namely that the fighter bombers of Uruburos would switch target to a new fleet entering, or at least split the damage equally. Where precisely this notion came from, no one could later say. It was Josie who first called for the caravan to warp off from the other side of the gate, and that the hostile fleet was landing.
Got overloaded reps. Okay.
I'm getting some luck in there as well. This is Emily.
LIRs, all the LIRs are on me.
They're landing now on the gate. They're flying battleships.
Emily, I need cap.
They're all landing on the gate now.
Any cap, broadcast cap.
8 Guardians.
Should we align to any gate?
No. We'll fight.
They have 4 Oneiros, Prophecy,
Kill the
Proteus,
LIR.
Scorpion.
Kill the bombers. Actually, all the NPCs will probably switch to the aggressors when they warp in.
Mesh here reiterated our notion that Uruburos will switch to the imminent new arrivals, as we sized up our guests.
Shania still needs cap.
So should
Yeah.
Is anybody else getting model lag?
They're all 0 on
No.
the acceleration gate.
Approach this beacon.
Oops, that half armor.
Wrap up, guys.
Keep
I have
Proceed,
very
broadcast.
twice.
Got reps on you.
Somebody,
Cool.
please keep an eye on next pack of bomber spawn, which might happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
They're
North.
activating, they're coming.
They're coming in now.
Get reps on the boopers, guys. Core armor.
I'm full.
Come on, rep on boopers, guys.
Boopers, they're coming up here.
Here they come.
You might want to remove rats for this bit.
No,
Okay.
you shouldn't. You
Primary.
need to see the bombers.
Kronos, PSY, will try and melt him. Before they get their rep, I'll broadcast him. He's prime.
More reps on
Kronos.
boopers, guys.
I don't see their scopes.
Hello,
Prime the Kronos.
Reps on Zoidberg.
Reps on Lagi on the armor.
There's only one scorpion of them.
Secondary
so it's
broadcast, it's a Megatron.
We lost the Guardian.
Wooden partner.
Megatron broadcast, 3 secondary.
Armor. Machine armor.
Then the Maelstrom.
Gurky needs armor, Gurky needs more armor. That's Gurky.
We're sinking very fast.
Maelstrom is broadcast.
Bombers on the field, bombers on the field.
Another Megatron broadcast. The bombers will shoot them as well, though.
We'll just have to call up who's locked up here on our side.
Maelstrom's prime, Maelstrom's prime. VK and the Maelstrom is broadcast as prime. Secondary is PER Megatron.
Bombers are going for mesh.
Hostile targets, including a Kronos, are sinking, but we've lost Dirty Dirty and Lagia's Guardian to the combined fire of the enemy fleet and the Sansha fighter bombers. With Mesh hovering in low armor on both his Guardians, and more ECM bursts from Uruburos looming, it starts to dawn on us that the Sansha fighter bombers will not switch away, a fact later confirmed by the absence of the torpedo on enemy loss mails. And so, we're forced to consider the unthinkable, of shooting NPCs in the middle of a fleet fight.
Got reps on you.
VK is prime, Megatron. Sorry, Maelstrom. Secondary is PER Megatron. After that, OM in the Megatron is being broadcast. PER is primary. PER is primary in the Megatron. After that, DOM Megatron. Then VIO Megatron is broadcast.
Shania needs more.
Reps on mesh. We need to sink these bombers. She's taking that dash.
Okay, we sink the bombers, guys. Sink the bombers. The bombers are on us. Switch to bombers. Melt the bombers. Melt the bombers.
Hecklon needs armor as well. I need a rep on both the Guardians, basically.
The killer and the spare reps keep going. More reps on headlock.
Okay, switch to the bombers. Melt the bombers. Melt the bombers. We can tank their defense probably.
Guardians all big on mesh now. Mesh
Are the
needs
bombers
armor.
going down?
Yes.
Armor on
Mesh
mesh.
has bombers. Mesh has bombers.
Bombers are switching fish.
More reps on the
Broadcast
left if possible.
Fish broadcast, go.
Broadcasted.
Broadcast the Scorpion.
Yeah,
Lock up
still
the
is.
Scorpion. Lock up the Scorpion as well. How many bombers left on field? How many bombers left on field?
2.
Map these reps.
Okay. Switch
Hecklon
to the
needs,
Scorp.
rep as well,
Melt
big.
the Scorp.
The collector needs rep. The map.
Map these reps.
Rep on map.
Discount.
Melt the Scorp. Melt the Scorp. TA in the Scorp. Secondary
Francis
VI
needs
Megatron. VI in the Megatron is secondary.
Broadcast cat entrance, I don't think anything.
More reps on Mav.
After that, CAL Armageddon is broadcast. CAL and
More rep on
Armageddon.
map. Map broadcast again. Fish are
Guys,
flying.
use the drones.
now.
Drones are still shooting the super carrier. Use them.
More reps on fish.
VI is primary.
Yeah, 6 reps for fish.
I broadcast again on VI. No, VI guys. Megatron, come on, damage on him. Okay, he's getting some rep. Get ready to switch to CAL. Get ready to switch to CAL. Switch now, everything on to CAL. CAL in primary in the Armageddon. CAL in the Armageddon is primary. CAL in the Armageddon. Switch to him. Also lock up the Proteus, who's broadcast. I'm going to broadcast the Dominic, looks like he's muting.
Spec.
Try the Proteus this time. He is painted. He's broadcast, Proteus is broadcast. Melt the Proteus, guys, melt the Proteus.
No reps already.
I'm about to lose point on Proteus.
I'll point out
now, bro.
We need...
Also the big broadcast again for Cap. Anybody else who needs a Guardian buggy at this point?
Stay on the Proteus, stay on the Proteus, stay on the Proteus, it's really down. Secondary will be the Dominics, SP the Dominics will be secondary. Then we'll go back onto the IO.
Thanks, Jim.
Dominics primary, Dominics primary. SP in the Dominics primary, secondary is VI in the Megatron. Okay, Chronos next.
Julius.
Okay.
Is it a
He's prime. Chronos is prime. Chronos is prime.
ECM burst.
It's a Guardian target buggy at the moment, except for Fog.
5 bombers.
Me and Probo will share them.
Okay, 5 bombers.
Second bombers.
Kill the Chronos, then we go on to the bombers.
Allies on Shania.
Okay, kill the bombers. There's not much DPS left in the hostile.
Okay, Shania.
Come on, broadcast quick.
Map needs reps.
More reps than
Rest on the map slowly.
Lock up these two dummies on the broadcast. BO and PR. Tell me how many bombers are left, John?
More map. Coming into hole. There's 6 plus 7 bombers left.
Yeah,
kill
we
the bombers,
need to
guys. Stay on the bombers. Stay on the bombers. Shoot the bombers. Keep me updated on the bomber numbers, John.
4 bombers.
New target
Three
will be PR in the Dominics. Once we're down to 2 bombers.
2 bombers now.
Okay. On
One.
PR in the Dominics. Second will be VU in the Dominics. Their Guardians aren't repping this, we'll just shoot them afterwards.
How much DPS skills I have left on the field? How much DPS skills I have?
Points. Not a lot, split points.
Got a point on VOL.
Okay, back towards Uruboros now, guys.
Some reps on Nicoletta, please.
Well, that was pretty hardcore.
Broadcast.
I love this. We need to do this more often.
You guys need a
with
broadcast,
people,
please.
Okay, it's still not over yet, though. You'll still get killed by the rats as well, so let's head back towards Uruburos.
Fisher King is on.
Fisher King.
Yeah, he has broadcast. Just check the broadcast.
He'll be fine.
Also be aware we have incoming bombers very soonish.
Yep.
Spawn.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Broadcast.
With the hostile fleet defeated, we settle the score with the Sansha. The conventional Sansha attackers are spread on both sides of the battle summary, but the compact shade torpedo is only on the lost mails of some of our downed ships, and not on the many lost mails of the attackers, which provides some insight into what can happen when you throw Uruburos into the mix with a fleet battle. But whether these lessons are of relevance is difficult to say, for in the past year the incursion scene has fallen on hard times. Changes to the mechanics have taken their toll, and small local groups now bolt their doors when the incursion circus comes to town. The ebb and flow of trends in EVE is nothing new, of course, and like in the world, professions and scenes expand and recess as the metagame twists around. Hopefully incursions will rise again, and perhaps even be reborn with a Blood Raider or Garista invasion, to drop a new faction supercarrier and give Mr. K a well-earned sleep.